Before we went to break, someone called up to ask about the other children. We talk about Gianna. She's 6. He has not just another son. He's got 5 kids, ages 6, who's Gianna, to 22. Now, the 22-year-old could probably take care of themselves, him or herself. I couldn't even find the names of all the other children. So it led you to ask another question about all of the money that's being raised, period, during this time. There are all of these companies pledging dollars. How do we know that the dollars are going to the right people? Talk to us, Drew McCaskill.
So, Karen, I got started thinking about this when I saw like the barrage of corporate responses to what happened in the wake of George Floyd, and I was, just trying to figure out like where does this money, who is the money going to? Where can we find out how the money is being distributed? And we see all of these pledges, right? Like Black Enterprise has an article out right now where corporate America has pledged $1.678 billion so far to fighting racial injustice. We're talking about Bank of America pledging $1 billion towards racial justice. Nike and Michael Jordan, $100 million over 10 years. Sony Music Group pledged $100 million. Walmart has pledged $100 million. Warner Music Group, $100 million. Just Nike brand, $40 million. Google said that they're going to put $25 million towards it. Amazon, $10 million. Facebook, $10 million. GM, $10 million. Goldman Sachs, $10 million. Target, $10 million. Verizon, $10 million. And those are all companies that said that they're going to pledge, investments to fight racial injustice, right? To organizations that are fighting racial injustice. Who actually is responsible for reporting back to Black America where those dollars went? Have the checks been written yet? What happened with that money? That there are going to be a lot of dollars given to the usual suspects in African American advocacy. We know the names that pop up first. How are we thinking about which organizations are actually going to say to certain corporations, we don't want your money? All right, what does that mean if that happens, right? What happens to those dollars? What are we for if those organizations like NAACP or whomever, if they get those dollars, how are we chronicling what those dollars are being used for, how they're being spent, what's the impact of that money? And I feel like that there should be some conversation about that, right? The flip of that, you
no,
tell
I was
me.
going to say, there's a void in the marketplace because we've been here before. Yeah. And we've been here before a couple of times in the last 50, 60 years, and dollars have been dispersed, and we don't know where it went. From Wall Street projects that were supposed to build up Wall Street companies, there have been tech initiatives, money's been poured in, and companies they do their checklist. Well, we gave $100 million to this tech initiative to this organization that doesn't have a tech background, who somehow didn't, and there's still a 2% representation after that. So clearly something didn't happen. There's a void in the marketplace right now, Drew McCaskill, for somebody listening to my voice to come up with an organization as a watchdog. We don't have too many watchdog organizations in our community.
We don't.
And this is what we need. We need 2 or 3 watchdog to call each and every one of these places that are getting money to ask them for, because it has to be transparent. They have to be able to release publicly where they put their money. And if they're not doing that,
what's up? Right.
What's up?
So one, we need to know who's getting the money in our communities. That what organizations are getting these dollars. What percentage are they getting? What percentage are they getting, and what's the timeline of when they're getting? Because nobody is going to write anybody a single check for $100 million, right? It don't go down like that nowhere.
All right, so back up again. Just give us the quick hit of the companies again and how much. Let's just go down the list again.
And these dollars are pledged over time. And there are 2 categories, right? And the first category I'm going to talk about are the people who are the corporations that are saying we are pledging money to fight racial injustice, right? And so those are dollars that are going to go towards advocacy and advocating on the behalf of the Black community. So you know which organizations exist currently, right? I got a good feeling that there will probably be some new organizations that'll pop up. I got a sneaky feeling, right? But we're talking about Bank of America pledging $1 billion. We're talking
Pause for a second. Bank of America, one of the banks that participated in the subprime lending debacle that cost Black wealth dramatically during that period of time. They're pledging $1 billion to fight injustice. $1 billion. Yeah. Does it say over a 10-year period like Nike?
So their pledge is definitely not in 1 year. It's $1 billion over time, right?
Okay.
The Nike and Michael Jordan $100 million pledge is $100 million over 10 years.
So that's roughly $10 million a year. $10 million a year devoted. Okay.
Yeah. Sony Music Group pledged $100 million. I don't know what their time span is. Walmart pledged $100 million. Don't have their time span on them. Warner Music Group $100 million. Nike, just Nike, the company, not Nike and Jordan brand together, another $40 million. Google $25 million. Spotify $11 million. Amazon $10 million. General Motors $10 million. Goldman Sachs $10 million. Target $10 million. Verizon $10 million. United Health Group another $10 million. That's a lot of money.
That could be the $1 trillion or the $2 trillion, because we've been talking about reparations a lot. This alone could equal more than $1 trillion going in. But so now we're tasked with how to make sure those dollars go to the right. So like George Floyd's Gianna is getting $2 million plus Disney stock, and the other 4 children, nothing. Something's wrong with that. There has to be so there are several organizations that can come up, first of all, to go to each company to make sure that they write that check. And then somebody's got to trace where that check is going or those checks. And then we got to follow up a couple of years. Did they do with the money what they said they were going to do? Or what is the plan for this money when it comes in?
Right. Because here's what concerns me, Karen, is that corporations typically will throw out, we're going to invest in this and see what our investment yields. These are still for-profit organizations that have a mindset of, we want a return on our investment, regardless of whether that investment is in people, the community, the market, a product. They still want a return on that investment. And if they don't get a return on that investment, they will likely not reinvest, right? There's a reason why certain organizations continue to get money over and over, because they get some sort of return. They have given some sort of return on that investment. Sometimes that return on that investment is great for the corporation and the community. Sometimes that return on that investment is just air cover for the corporation. I've seen it happen both ways, right? And so we're talking about all of this money that is being pledged in the community right now. We got to figure out, one, what that looks like. And I contend, because there's a whole nother group of money that's being pledged that don't have nothing to do with racial injustice. We're talking about Lowe's has pledged $25 million to assist minority-owned businesses with emphasis on African Americans. We're talking about YouTube launched a $100 million fund to amplify Black voices, right? PayPal announced $530 million commitment to support Black businesses and strengthen minority businesses as well. Apple has also pledged to do the exact same thing in Silicon Valley. So you tell me this is not just about fighting racial injustice. They're talking about investing in businesses and equity, and these pledges are long-term commitments to support minority businesses. Where are these grant dollars going? Like, I'll give you for instance, PayPal is giving $10 million in grants to Black-owned businesses impacted by COVID-19. You got to go to the website and get that grant money, right? Another $5 million fund for program grants and matching employee donations to nonprofits that PayPal employees want to support. Apple is doing something very similar with their $100 million commitment And so reparations from the government or reparations from corporate America that has been living off of the dollars that we spend on their products, their services, and the wages that we probably are owed from not being correctly, elevated in organizations.
Yes.
This is a moment where we need to follow the money.
So
Government
this is where
money, corporate money.
As you're talking, I'm thinking how we could use this platform, and the only thing I can think of is journalism, which is dead. We need to deploy journalists to follow up and call and keep a record. I think when I get off this phone today, I'm going to work on something. You just gave me an idea. I appreciate you, because I was like, who's going to do this work? Somebody's got to do this work, because we need to know. 866-801. Yeah, not that just we need to know, but if these dollars are deployed properly, we're good. If these dollars, these trillions of dollars that are pledged, are actually given to the proper outlets and empowering the proper businesses and the proper organizations, we'll never have to worry about financials ever again.
Listen, Karen, I just listed off over $2 billion, well over $2 billion of money that has been committed to this community with great specificity around Black folks. We need to figure out how to chronicle those dollars, how to make sure that those dollars are accounted for, how to hold the people who get those dollars accountable for also then recycling that dollar within the Black community, so that the money does exactly what these corporations have said they're pledging to do with it. You
got my brain. Like right now, I just want to sit and digest what I just wrote down, because I wrote down every single one of the. And I just want to sit with this for a minute. Thank you for that.
While you sitting, can I say one last thing about it?
Absolutely.
The thing that I will say is, and then Black folks or groups of Black people, why not buy stock in those companies that just pledged that, so that when the proxy comes, where you get your proxy vote, that you can have your question asked during earnings calls. Say, what happened to that $10 million that we got pledged, that $100 million? Where are we with it? Can we have somebody just kind of answer that question for us? Because if you're a stockholder, you're a shareholder, you get a chance to, you have the right.
Your voice. That's a power play right there. That's a power play right there. And you just named off Bank of America, Walmart, Nike, Sony, Google, Amazon, Target. And these are decent stock too. You're not going to, necessarily lose your shirt messing with them. Lowe's. I don't know what's going to happen with them in the future, but yeah, Lowe's, YouTube, PayPal, Apple. Apple stock is expensive. You can get some shares of that as well. Listen, you just gave us a blueprint. I appreciate that. 866-801-8255. And every month we can convene here and go over our stocks and the strategy and go collectively. Because all you need is one share. You got a share. There's a million of us listening. We got 1 million shares. Let's go in and say, hey, what you doing with this? I love this. Let me tell you about LifeLock.
Why not ask these companies to put those dollars in, to hold those dollars in Black banks?
Bam.